people are like puzzle pieces, endlessly fascinating, shaped by our tastes, our life journeys, and our cultures. When you mix all of us up and put us in a society, that's a mystery novel you can't put down. We're all a little different, we're all a little quirky, but deep down, we all want the same thing. We all want safe, thriving communities. We all want opportunity for ourselves and for our loved ones. So the question is not, what do we want? The question becomes, how do we take our shared desires and turn them into something real, something tangible, something that will work? I'd like to introduce to you a world-changing idea. It's simple, it's a little obvious, but unfortunately, we seem to rarely ever do it. Ready for it? Here it is. Pay attention. That's it. Pay attention. If we spend half as much time paying attention to what's happening to other people as we do in tracking and obsessing about what's happening to us, I believe the world will be a much better place, and each community would be stronger. Now, some of you might be saying, well, that sounds nice. Sounds a little fluffy. Well, what does that really mean? That's a fair question. Tonight, I'd like to answer that question and respond. The secret sauce of any successful community is what happens when we're able to prioritize our success over my success. We before me. When the group, be it on campus, be it in your neighborhood, be it across entire regions, focus together on the greater good, some powerful things happen. For so long, the automobile was king. For decades, cities bent over backwards to serve the car. But now, a lot of communities are rethinking those decisions. Some communities are repurposing some highways and traffic lanes, and they're turning them into bike paths. They're turning them into parks. They're turning them into outdoor walking malls. They're turning them into outdoor cafes and restaurants. They're recreating some livable and walkable spaces, and we're seeing some positive results. We're seeing healthier residents. We're seeing stronger community relationships. And yes, we're seeing higher property values. When the group flourishes, individuals flourish too. So the question becomes, how do we get better at doing that? I'd like to show you one easy way. The key to harmonious and effective communities is understanding one word and using it more. Now, I don't mean saying it more often. I mean using it more. And that word is privilege. Now, privilege is a hot button word and topic in our society today. Let's be honest. But I think the reality of the reason why it's a hot button topic is pretty simple. Privilege is vastly misunderstood because there's two different types of privilege. There's earned privilege and there's unearned privilege. Now, earned privilege, hey, we understand that one. We get our degree from a nice university like this one. We get a job, we start making a little cash, start buying a couple things, we get that car we've always had our eye on. We move into that house that was pretty cool to us, but we thought we could never get. That makes sense to us. We get that. Now, when you start talking about unearned privilege, it gets a little dicey. People start getting a little bit uncomfortable with that. You hear people say, well, I've earned everything that I have. Now, if you think that way right now in your head, that's great. Stick with me, because here's the truth. Nobody ever achieves anything alone. Here's a twist to understanding privilege. Whether you understand, whether you have it or not, really doesn't matter at all. It's not the point. The point is to be able to understand how powerful it is and what opportunities lie with that. So I'd like to take a little bit deeper dive into that if you don't mind. And I'd like to ask you to come walk with me on my personal journey with privilege. Everybody good? All right, here we go. This is what classrooms looked like when I went to school. All the desks lined up the same way, all of it designed for right-handed people. How many people caught that? Left-handed, all left-handed people caught that, right? So my best friend was left-handed. And every time we had a writing assignment, he would get all twisted and contorted just to put words on the page. So being a kid, I asked a simple question. Dude, what are you doing? He looked at me and said, I'm just trying to write. And that's where it clicked. Just by the simple act of being a student at school, I had an advantage all day, every day. And I didn't do anything to earn being right-handed. And left-handers didn't do anything to be left-handed. They didn't do anything wrong. But what's weird about privilege is that if you don't understand when you have it, it's really hard to get a true sense of fairness. When people have privilege, sometimes it's invisible. Sometimes they don't appreciate that they have it. However, when you don't have privilege, it's never invisible. Everybody understands, and it's plain as can be. So let's keep walking on my journey with privilege. As a man, I've never had to plan my day around the possibility of me being raped or sexually assaulted. Unfortunately, many women have to do that every day, sometimes many times a day. Every year in the United States, hundreds of thousands of women are raped, and thousands more are sexually assaulted, but they go unreported, oftentimes because they don't think they're going to be believed. But that's another subject for another day. When my wife and I decided to start a family, my job applauded me because they assumed that my priorities would stay with my career. When my wife went to work, she was questioned and even doubted as to whether she was going to come back because it was assumed that her priorities would change to our child. Same decision, very different reactions. But the key here is privilege is power, and power creates moments. And moments create opportunities for us to help make things more fair, more just, and more safe for everyone. Those opportunities come if we're paying attention. As a heterosexual person, I've never been denied access to a faith community. Unfortunately, many of our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters are told they don't belong. If faith matters to you and you're told you can't come here, where are you supposed to go? As a heterosexual person, it is assumed that my primary relationship is based on commitment, love, and care. Unfortunately, many gay couples don't get that same respect. Let's get into one more. When we talk about racial privilege, I could use a whole bunch of groups as an example. However, today, I'm going to use my experience as a white American and compare that to black Americans in general. My grandfather came home from World War II, and he bought a home with the GI Bill. The GI Bill is a massive investment by our government to basically say thank you to our soldiers that risked their lives and saved the world, literally and figuratively. The GI Bill, the two biggest components of the housing part of the GI Bill, is a massive bill. The two biggest components were no down payment and extremely low interest rate. Now, some of you, I realize, on college campus have not purchased a house before. Here's what those two things mean. If you want to buy a house, say you're going to buy a $200,000 house. You go to a bank and say, hey, I don't have $200,000, so Mr. and Mrs. Bank, could you loan me $200,000 so I can get this house? Mr. and Mrs. Bank will say, sure, we'll loan you that money, and you don't have to pay it off for 30 years. And we're like, great, that sounds awesome. The problem is, or the catch is, you got to pay double what they gave you over 30 years, essentially. Interest rates vary. Essentially, you're paying double what you want because you're taking their money. And so banks are proficient at making money. On top, so that's the interest rate part. Down payment part, typically down payment is about 10%. So you buy a $200,000 home, you have to come up with 20 grand up front. That ain't chump change either. So, no interest rate, extremely low down payment, huge benefits from the GI Bill for all of our soldiers coming home from World War II. Now, there's a little over 8 million white soldiers that came home from World War II. Every one of them benefited from the GI Bill. There's a little over 1 million black soldiers that came home from World War II, risked the exact same thing, even more really, and none of them were allowed to access those huge financial benefits from the GI Bill. That had lasting impact on both the white families and white folks as it did on the black families and black folks. We hear a lot of talk about financial disparity. That's a big culprit right there. Again, subject for another day. Another project after World War II, public housing. Now, when I think of public housing, I think of high-rises, cement blocks. I think, unfortunately, mostly black and brown folks, mostly poor communities. And they're usually places you don't want to hang out. But after World War II, there was a different kind of public housing that was done. And that was called the suburbs. The suburbs are the little towns and villages that are built outside of our cities. That was white public housing following World War II. There's a couple catches to that. They got developers to build these suburbs, build these nice communities. And they were really nice because they gave the developers some of the same benefits that the GI Bill gave to the white folks. So developers started making these beautiful places because they could get the money back. They could benefit from that. So that's where suburbs came from. It's white public housing. Two caveats. Developers could only be white. It's written in the laws. Check it out. Google it. Second piece. Not only the developers can only be white, but they can only sell to white folks. So both of these public works programs benefited me. My grandfather bought his house for $25,000. By the time he passed it down to my father, it was worth $400,000. That equity is real, and it helped my family quite a bit. I did not choose to get these unearned privileges. I didn't ask for them, but I was born into them. There are many kinds of privilege, many more kinds of privilege, and we often overlook them. It's just kind of a normal way of life. Financial privilege, geographical privilege, birth order privilege, there's a bunch of them. The one I tend to forget about the most is physical privilege. I'm able to walk, I'm able to talk, I'm able to use my hands, my brain functions sometimes. But again, I didn't earn any of that. So it's important that we recognize sometimes we have privilege, all of us, and sometimes we don't. Privilege doesn't make us a good person or a bad person. Let me say that again. Privilege doesn't make us a good person or a bad person. Don't run from privilege. It's powerful. Don't be ashamed of it. Use it, and use it for good. So what does all this mean? What does it mean to use your privilege for good? Well, I got 4 ways for you to start. 1, recognize that not everybody is having the same experience as you are in this life. Number 2, vote in every election possible. When you vote, don't vote for your party. Vote for what benefits everyone. Number 3, unlearn that you are better than anyone else. Number 4, unlearn that you are less than anyone else. We are not ranked. We are not sorted. We are all human beings doing the best we can. All of us. And when we choose we before me, we all rise together. Thank you.